Hi, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great week, pre-Christmas week. For those that Hanukkah and all the other stuff that people celebrate during the holiday season. How you doing, Khaled?
I'm doing great. I am ready for the last 2 weeks of the year. I'm not taking time off work, but it should be pretty slow, and my kids will be home, so it'll be a great time for everybody.
Oh, that's good. That's the one thing I remember when I was working at the hospital during the holidays. The doctors would always try to discharge everybody and send them home. And so the hospitals usually gave us food, and it was pretty slow. It sucked working the holidays, but you still made money. You got a little bit of extra sometimes, and
Yep.
so it worked out all good. So. The NFL, again, like we talked about a month ago, we had
hmm
all these scenarios, and we couldn't. I remember our friend Isaac saying, "I don't know how any of this can change," and everything has changed. I
Everything.
told
Yeah.
Isaac it's a weekly thing. So let's get right into it. The Bills with an impressive win. And that was one that a lot of the East Coast, the media was really saying this was Drake May Day and they were going to
hmm
be back and all that. Boy, the Bills had another story for this.
They sure did, and I think the way they did it is it made the story even more exciting. I mean, they come down or they come back from 21-0 down in the first half, come storming back, and just like the past few weeks, they made plays on defense. They made Drake May and that Patriots offense slow down, come to an abrupt halt. The funny thing is, after all that, the Patriots still might win the division. They have two out of their three games left are pretty easy. They get the Jets and Miami, who will be playing Quinn Ewers, I guess, or Zach Wilson, depending how things go over the next couple weeks. So, despite all that, I mean, it was a great performance by the Bills. They did, I think, quiet down a lot of the critics, and they made the critics of the Patriots, stand up a little bit and say, like, "Hey, we told you so." That they're not that good of a team. They've just been blessed with an easy schedule, but I don't want to take anything away from the Bills. It was still an impressive win, and it pretty much guarantees them at least a playoff spot. And whoever gets a home game, they get to play Josh Allen and the Bills in their own building. So, not a great reward for winning your division for one of these other AFC teams.
Yeah, now I'm not fully on the Drake. I know I'm negative, but about quarterback, I'm not fully on Drake May's bandwagon. In two games with the Bills, he has zero touchdowns. A
Yeah,
lot of these young quarterbacks are doing more on the ground running than they are passing. Tyler Shuck from New Orleans makes me see that as well, even though he made a couple good
yeah,
throws.
he did.
Uh, but that division's horrible.
Yeah,
But but Drake may. This is what that the NFC East. The Bills have only played three teams with winning records all year,
the Bills
and
or the Patriots?
the Bills
Oh, the Bills.
and
Okay,
the Patriots have only played four. The
wow.
Patriots are 2-2 in those games, and Drake May has four touchdowns and two interceptions. So he's averaging one touchdown a game against teams with winning records. So the key is to stop the run, which the Bills didn't do,
They have
and
not
get
done
to
all
him.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and get to him because he does not. Drake May does not like pressure. That's
yeah,
not his thing. And I think that when you get him to move, because when they made him go sideways, they made him throw on the run. He was a totally different quarterback. And
yeah.
but when you let him step up in the pocket, he's real. But like, and the Bills didn't even play good. The Bills were horrible
For
early.
the first half, yeah, at least.
Yeah, they were horrible. So
Yeah.
I think that the Bills turned it on. Uh, Bill Cowher said it, I think. He goes, there is no scary team in the NFL. This is that one year that you just don't have anybody that really you look at as the juggernaut. And they
Yeah.
all have several issues with their teams. And I think this is what the NFL likes with their parity situation. The Eagles
Anybody
had
can win
been,
it.
yeah,
Anybody can win
anybody
it.
can. The Eagles had been written off, and boy, I'm telling you, there was lynch mobs for some of their players, especially for the quarterback play.
hmm
And I love Jalen Hurts; he's such a good guy. And but I think and maybe I'm off base, but I think Kansas City, Philadelphia, all these teams, I know passing is so much easier these days, but they have disregarded the run. And I think that's what the Chiefs can't run anymore.
Hmm.
And you're putting all of it on Mahomes, and he's getting killed.
And
And
yeah, and we
yeah,
saw what happened this weekend. Yeah.
yep. And I think the Eagles are the prime example of that. Jalen Hurts in 2023 had, I think, 14 interceptions. I can't remember. He had tons of interceptions. And he is playing that way. He's trying to do things he shouldn't be doing. He's taking risks. That's not his game. His
Hmm.
game is a very conservative passing game, run when you need to. And he's gone away from that. I think the pressure has gotten to him. I
Yeah.
think the Philly fans have gotten to him, and he's trying to do too much and make too many plays. But
Yeah.
they
I
did
think
bounce back.
their running game has just not been what it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, it's hard to have repeat a 2,000 yard season for Saquon. But I saw a stat during the game where it was the amount of games with 20 plus rushing attempts last season. It was double digits. I think it was 12 for Saquon. This year it was less than 5. Part of that, of course, is that they're just not finding the same success running the ball. So they're not in those situations where you can lean on the run and do all that. They're not winning as often as they did last year by a lot, like they were. They were just blowing people out last season. And some of it, just like you said, there's just a kind of a general abandonment of the run game in Philly. Even the design runs by the quarterback, maybe they're trying to protect Jalen Hurts a little more because he did miss a couple games at the end of the season. So you wonder if that's a factor. But I mean, with KC, there was the most glaring, obvious weakness of their offense was it's 2025. You shouldn't be relying on Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. Uh, I know they've been burned by drafting some running backs, but supposedly they were in the market for Brees Hall, didn't want to make that trade. I think it was only a third round pick for a player that is incredibly talented. So came back to bite them. I don't want to say that's why Mahomes tore his ACL because it was a contact injury. It's not like he was, cutting in the open field and his ACL just went, but it was a play where he was scrambling and running like he has been all season. He's carrying the load for the offense more than he probably should have at this point in the season or should be considering the talent around him.
Yeah.
And that last play was like the straw that broke the camel's back. But we're seeing both of the Super Bowl teams last year just have not been able to run the ball, and it's come back to hurt them in a big way.
And I know I was reading where the average in the 70s, it was worse. Oh my gosh. In the 70s and 80s, the average length of a running back's career was 2.4 years. I mean, it was
Yep.
unbelievable how beat up they got. I believe it's now, it's not 4, but it's more.
Hmm.
And it's almost at 4. So a lot of teams, because some teams say, why don't they just get running backs, blah, blah, blah. And the mentality in the NFL is that these guys don't last. So you don't want to
Yeah.
put a lot of money into long-term contracts. But the problem is that when you do abandon the run, now you have it. Let's say you're playing a team that could rush the quarterback with 4 guys. You're toast because
Absolutely.
they know you're going to pass. They don't have to blitz, so they have 7 guys in coverage. Now you, and this is what's happened to the Bills. The Bills running backs also are horrible blockers. There are times where it's as if they just give a white flag. They're bad blockers. So are their wide receivers, to be honest with you. But their run game, I think that's what is setting them apart. To me, I personally feel if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, they're never going to win it. That's
Yeah.
what I feel. They
At the
have
very
the
least
running back.
making it to the Super Bowl. I
Yeah,
mean, you look around the AFC, there's no scary teams, period, and the AFC is especially wide open. I mean, your top two seeds have young quarterbacks that, at least, I mean, Bo Nix played in the postseason last year, but it was a one and done. It's not like they have a ton of experience. So, and they are very flawed teams at the top of the AFC. So, if you're Buffalo, you're going to have to go on the road to do it unless something big happens with the Patriots. But I don't see them collapsing to
no.
that level. Uh, but yeah, it's wide open. The Ravens probably won't make it. The big bad out east. KC is obviously out of it. So yeah, I think everyone in the AFC is probably like, this is our shot. But if you're Buffalo, you're like, this is 100% our best chance to make it.
Okay, I'm going to do a Julia Childs. I don't like where I'm at on the camera. All right. I'm going to get back into it. I just didn't
All right.
like that. Uh, what I what I think with the Bills, and Pacheco was the guy that really has kind of shocked me because I was really impressed with him, but maybe the injury got to him. But boy, he is just not the same player. Kareem Hunt is, he's aging, so he's not the same guy. But boy, I'm telling you, I just hate when they abandon the run. And like Jimmy Johnson says, the time to keep running is the time when you're not being able to do it. You got to
Hmm.
pound the ball because his mentality, he said, was in the second half, I wanted the defense tired. And that
Yeah.
was the time where we were going to get our yards. We may not get our yards early, but we will late. And I think that
Hmm.
people don't think that way anymore.
No, it's a pass first league, and that's how teams operate. It's not like you want your team to run the ball on first, second down, and then pass on third down. You want them to switch it up, but you also don't want them throwing the ball, unless the situation calls for it, 40, 50, 60 times a game, like we've seen in the modern NFL.
Yeah, it's very, and also for uh, people that the NFC obviously is better than the AFC this year. There are so many problems with it, but I'm telling you, there is a couple sleeper teams. I like the Jags and Houston. The Jags are manic, and they're one of those. They remind me of Screech and Saved by the Bell. They're always going to screw up, and they're one of those mental teams that always seems to do the wrong thing. Uh, but and Houston, I get sick of seeing Stroud and Love throwing off their back foot. That drives me insane, even though they do complete some passes.
Yeah.
But boy, both those teams are sleepers to me. I really like them.
Yeah, Jacksonville has a lot of weapons. They have a great running back, or running back duo, I should say. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he is capable of some boneheaded stuff, but I think like he's one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in the league. He's way more mobile than he looks. For Houston, that defense, I mean, we've talked about it a few times. Like that defense alone is a Super Bowl worthy unit, and we've
Oh
seen
yeah.
teams make the Super Bowl off the back of just a decent offense and an incredible defense, which is what they have. A lot of people were like, "Oh, maybe their offense is picking it up." I think they played Arizona last week. Nothing special. Same thing with the Jaguars. Their offense got back on track, but they played, I believe it was the Jets. So it was kind of like a get right, like almost like a homecoming game for these
Mm-hmm.
teams late in the season to like fix some of the offensive issues. But like at their potential, at their peak, both of these teams I think are Super Bowl worthy. But if I had to pick between the two, it would be Houston just because of how dominant that defense has been. And you've said it a few times, like if you can rush the passer with four, like they do, and they do really, really well, they can make life miserable for any opposing team. So I'm excited to see what Houston can do in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's. I think what's going to happen with Houston is and Houston has proven that they could win on the road, and so is Jacksonville.
Defense
So I think,
travels. That's the
yeah,
big thing.
and I think that's what I like about their defense is that it's really they're very good. I think also another team that has never gotten the respect uh, that they deserve, and it's really frustrating. I think for fans there is the Broncos. The Broncos
Mm,
just keep winning. A
yeah.
lot of people are saying they're the worst team with this high of a record in a long time, and maybe that's so. But their defense is legit. Bo Nix is not going to light anyone on fire, but as long as he doesn't make mistakes, they're good. They're not going to wow you with 30 and 40 points a game. But boy, they just keep winning. And I love Sean Payton, even though he's a controversial coach. I really
Yeah.
love him. And Denver is proving a lot of naysayers wrong. And no one's giving them really a lot of love. But boy, they just keep winning.
Yeah, I think it's just about Bo Nix. I think that the doubters or the critics are like they didn't think he was a first round talent from the jump, and now they're once you have your preconceived notions of a guy, you're like, I just don't quite see it. They are very similar to Houston, where they do have that dominant defense. They have an incredible pass rush. They can dominate and take over games defensively, and I think, like I've said a few times, like it gives you a lot more margin for error on offense, which we've seen. It kind of takes them a while to get warmed up. Like they can get basically almost shut out in the first half and then come out and score, 20, 30, 40 points in the second half. They did that against the Giants. They did it recently against the Packers. And it was funny because as I was watching both of those games with the Patriots and the Broncos, I was like, oh, the one seeds in the AFC, or the top seeds, are kind of getting exposed by some quality opponents. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, Denver comes back, beats Green Bay pretty handily, I think, by the end. And a lot of that had to do with their defense. But Bo Nix also played really well in the second half, and we've seen like what he's capable of. It's only his second year as a starting quarterback in the NFL, so you kind of give him a little bit of grace. But I've been pretty impressed with him, late in games especially.
The Saints fans think that they have their quarterback. I'm still really I'm not a huge fan of him. He
Yeah,
did have I think their division Tampa Bay might be the most disappointing team in the NFL. But boy, he did have a good game. I think he only threw
he
for
did.
125 yards or something like that, but they won. Carolina's, kind of an overrated 7-6 team, but I think that that's a nice thing.
They beat Tampa
What
last
do
week
you?
too.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
beat Tampa, which pretty much everybody's been beating Tampa Bay.
true.
But do you think that? Do you think he's? Obviously they're going to stick with him.
Hmm.
Do you think that he's kind of proved himself, or it's going to take more time?
He has earned himself at least another year. He's a second round pick, so they don't have that fifth year option. So they have, those first 4 years basically of him on a rookie deal. And he's shown enough in the second half of the season for them to kind of cross quarterback off their list. Maybe not with Sharpie, but with pencil for next
Mm-hmm.
season. I know they'll probably still be picking in the top five, but it would take them out of, the Mendoza or Dante Moore sweepstakes or whoever it is. So at least they're like, okay, we have a guy that we think could maybe potentially be our franchise guy. He hasn't lit it up through the air, but he is an athlete. He's been running around, making plays, and these last two wins have been, impressive. I know the opponents were not the best, but they are the division leaders, and the victory had a lot to do with him. It wasn't like he was sitting back and letting the defense do all the work. So he's earned himself at least another season as a starter.
Yes. Just a sec. Florence, check your email, please. Uh, Sorry about that, guys. And another team that I really like that is, say what you will about the Chargers. They've had so many horrible injuries this year. And I'm not a, there's another guy. Herbert looks great in video. I mean, good looking guy, big guy, great arm. But boy, I just don't trust that guy. But the Chargers, with all their injuries, they just keep plugging along. And boy, that was a nice win in Kansas City.
It was. I mean, it was a great week for them. I mean, just a few days before, or 6 days before, they beat Philadelphia. In Philly, or sorry, in LA. So
Mm-hmm.
great win for them. Uh, it was just like it was a really good week for them, and I think what's been impressive is, like you said, they've had a lot of injuries. Like half their offensive line is gone from this week one. They keep recycling guys, and they just keep you know crossing off these benchmarks, right? They keep passing these tests. It's like, okay, can you beat Philly, the defending Super Bowl champs, on a Monday night? Sure, we can do that. Can you go into Kansas City, even though it's a somewhat depleted Chiefs team? Can you beat KC in KC, which is still a very hard place to win? And they did it. They won defensively. It was a hard nosed game. They've turned the ball, or they forced turnovers. And that's really like the heart of their team, is just like Denver, just like Houston. They're going to lean on their defense and hope that their offense can come through with a handful of big plays. They do have a really tough end of season schedule. I know Dallas
Mm-hmm.
is essentially eliminated, but they're still a tough opponent. And then you wrap up with Houston, and they do play Denver in week 18, which might have the one seed locked up by then, so that may be an easier game. I mean, obviously, the Chargers will make the playoffs, but they do have a tougher stretch to wrap up the season.
Now, the Bears fans are losing their minds because Micah Parsons is now out for the year.
Yep.
And they also, a lot of people have said that they have kind of the New England Patriot mantra with easier schedule, but they have beaten some good teams. And Caleb Williams is holding his own. I think the problem I have with most young quarterbacks is when they win, the quarterback just gets all the credit. And he's throwing for 150 yards a game sometimes, and he's not really, and he's one touchdown, one interception. People are going, wow, MVP, MVP. So the Bears are winning because their defense and their offensive line is nails, and they could run the ball,
Hmm.
and that's how they should do it. They should go old school. And I really love it because I don't want Caleb Williams throwing 40 times a game. I want him
Yeah,
throwing 20 to 25, keep it in that range, and I think they're going to be good. This could be a huge break for the Bears because they still, the Bears have a couple challenges at the end of their year, and
sure
boy,
do.
I'm telling you that with Green Bay, this could be a big game breaker for Green Bay. Even though I still think they're a good team, I think that this still may not kill them, but boy, this definitely is a huge loss to them.
Yeah, it's crazy how like much things can change week to week in the NFC, especially in the NFC. It was like you're 10-4 and you're the 7 seed, and then the next week, you win, the Packers lose, and you're all of a sudden you're the 2 seed and you're winning, leading the division. The Micah Parsons thing, I don't want to undersell it. This is a huge, huge loss. I mean, think about all of these other great defensive players around the league. If you lose them, you're losing a whatever 30%, 40% of the production from your defensive line. You're making the offense coordinator's job much, much easier on the other side. I'm sure Ben Johnson's been sleeping a lot better this week than he did, a couple weeks ago when they played Green Bay in Green Bay. Uh, so I don't want to undersell that, but I do think they still have a ton of talent defensively. They have a really great defensive coordinator that is getting some, looks as a head coach next season. But this is winning you're in essentially for both teams. And if you're Chicago, you're like, this is at home. It's a primetime game. Like the lights are going to be bright. This is when you need to see the progression from the team as a whole. Again, you don't, like you said, you don't want Caleb throwing it 30, 40 times. It's probably not going to be great conditions in Chicago anyway for that. But you want to see him, like, again, hit those benchmarks. Like, can you win this big game in prime time at home? They beat Philly a few weeks ago, which was great, but this is a division game. This is a divisional game that can almost essentially wrap up the division for them, especially with the Lions losing last week. And then, of course, if they beat the Packers, it'll give them a big leg up. So this is like the biggest game for the Bears since, I don't know, 2018 or something. So it's obviously the biggest game of Caleb Williams' young NFL career. So this is a massive one, and I'm excited the fact that it's on prime time on Saturday night.
The NFC West has been somewhat of a disappointment. Seattle, much was, like I said, Sam Darnold. I've never been a huge. He had that great year, but still, I just find it hard to trust him. And
Yeah,
I just think that Seattle is just in a dive bomb right now. And the 49ers are kind of a mini fraud. They've had some horrible injuries, just like the Los Angeles Chargers. But the thing is, they played some really bad teams. They've beaten weak teams, and they've lost games that they should have won. And I'm not sold on the 49ers at all. I think they're going to have to regroup, get healthy, and come back next year. What's your thoughts on Seattle and the 49ers?
like you said, the 49ers have benefited from a very, very easy schedule. It was the talk before the season that their strength of schedule was going to be, on the lower end. Obviously, they have lost a ton of guys on defense. Nick Bosa and Fred Warner were the two headliners there. Offensively, they are humming. That's the one saving grace right now. Is usually the injuries for them are on the offensive side, where it's McCaffrey or Kittle or Tebow Samuel or Ayuk or one of these guys, or McCaffrey, missing extended periods of time. Now they
Yeah.
basically have their full complement of weapons on offense, but defensively, they just, even last week, they played Tennessee and they gave up 24 points to the Titans, where, I mean, the game was never really in doubt, but when you give up close to 30 points to the worst team in the league, you
Yeah.
want to think about some things. Um, I think the way the schedule is going to work out, they may still make the playoffs, especially if the Lions fall off, and if Green Bay loses this week, they might still make it as the 7 seed. But I don't see them as a serious contender. When it comes to Seattle, there's something wrong with Sam Darnold. That's really like the only other way to say it, right? Is like the last two games they basically won in spite of him, right? They play
Yeah.
Minnesota with a undrafted rookie quarterback who was happy to turn the ball over. I think he had 4 or 5 turnovers. They play Atlanta, same thing. They were just able to overwhelm them defensively. And then last week, Indianapolis, they almost lost to Phillip Rivers, who hasn't thrown a pass in the NFL in 5 years. Kudos to him. He's 44 and he came back off the couch and he looked half decent.
Isn't it one of his kids in college?
Yeah, well, I think his oldest is a senior in high school, and he's like one of the top recruits. I want to say his name is Gunner. I don't know why I
Oh
remember
my
that, but
God.
yeah, he has. That's the joke is he came back just so he could reset his NFL insurance premium or whatever because they cover it. Apparently, they cover your
Oh,
insurance for 5 years after retirement
yeah,
before you have
that's
to pay for it.
right.
Um, I'm sure he's not hurting for cash. He made several $100 million, and he's still working. And he's coaching. It was just he looked 44, right? Which was he had a little extra weight on him. So
Yeah.
kudos to him for from going from couch to starting quarterback. Great story. It almost had a Disney type ending where they almost won that game, but Darnold and Seattle, they're just it's like they're barely hanging on at this point. And the fact that they've already banked 11 wins means okay, they'll probably make the playoffs. But I have this really bad feeling about how things are going to turn out for them tomorrow night against the Rams, who have been like a bugaboo type team for him. Like they ended his Minnesota tenure. They know how to pressure him, all that stuff. So I feel like the wheels are coming off, and they could come off in a major way tomorrow night in Seattle.
Yeah, I think what's funny is now Ben Roethlisberger is getting a bunch of calls. Can you come back and play? And boy, there's a guy that was beat up, and I don't think he stayed in shape afterwards. I can't see him being in great shape.
I've
So,
seen him on a podcast recently. Yeah, he was always a heavier guy, and he
mhm.
definitely looks even heavier than his playing days.
He looks retired. Yeah.
Yes, happy and
Now,
retired. Yeah,
okay. Now, what's really funny is that uh, I'm having just I love hating Dallas because I'm older than you. When I grew up, it was the Raiders and Dallas. They were the two most popular teams for almost 30 years, and you either loved them. They were the good guys. Everybody, even if you liked other teams, you kind of rooted for them, and you hated the Raiders. Raiders,
yep,
everybody cheered when the Raiders lost. They were always the two highest rated TV teams. I feel sad for Jerry Jones to a point, uh,
not me.
but yeah, to a point, but because I don't, he's getting up there and he's just, uh, he's a tool a little bit, but it's just getting to the point where he's grasping at straws. I don't think he knows what he's doing anymore. I think he's just doing all the wrong things, and boy, to see them go down. Dak Prescott, I said it years ago. I don't think he's a good quarterback, not a great one. And I don't think he's going to be hoisting any trophies anytime soon.
Yeah,
What do you do at Dallas?
what can you do at this point? I mean, you're locked into Dak for a few more years now at some crazy number where it doesn't make sense to move on from him. We've seen that he's good enough to win in the regular season. Uh, they're almost like a double digit win team almost every season with some rare exceptions. I think honestly, if I take off like the Cowboys hater hat, I think there's a lot to be enthused about this season, right? You're like, okay, we started off terrible. Our defense was bad. It's gotten better since we've made some big trades, and these guys, especially Quentin Williams, he's locked down for a few seasons. Kenny Clark, same thing. Um, you're hoping next season you get Trayvon Diggs back from his injury, and you basically just build on offense or on defense because offensively you have nothing to worry about. They'll probably bring back George Pickens. They probably franchise him, which I know he's a bit of a head case, so he might not love that. But when he's on, he is a wide receiver one. You have talent on at the tight ends. It's like found money with Javonte Williams. Maybe you bring him back, extend him for a couple years, and just focus all of your offseason building on defense and hope that Jerry doesn't, look for a shortcut again, because that's what's gotten them in trouble in the past. So, yeah, it's not a great season for them, but they're still probably end up with a winning record. And there's a lot of positives you can take into 2026.
They also have a very tough division, and boy, I'm telling you, it's and Washington's going to come back. Jaden Daniels has to prove he could stay healthy. He's been very sensitive, saying none of the injuries are his fault, and he's right. But
Hmm.
he also, I think that what they're trying to say is that you got the Eagles who aren't going anywhere; they still have loaded with talent, and the Giants could be coming up a little
Yeah.
bit. I think the New York media got a little bit carried away with Jackson Dart. I like Jackson Dart. I think he could be a good starter in the NFL, but I think they got a little bit carried away with all the stuff that's going, as New York always does,
Yeah.
the East
Yeah.
Coast always does. But boy, I'm telling you, the downfall of Dallas. The league is better when the Cowboys and Raiders, especially the Raiders, are good, and I think it's because everyone hates the Raiders, and it's not the same. They don't have the same vibe and feel like they did at Oakland, but it's just real sad to see these. To me, at least, when I was growing up, seeing this dynasties, these amazing teams of the 70s and 80s and 90s, and they're now just bleh, and they're
Yeah.
just shells of what they were. Like I said, the last time the Raiders won the Super Bowl, Thriller just came out. So that that's pretty scary.
42 years ago now. I think 80. Yeah,
Oh my
42 years
God!
ago.
And Ronald Reagan was the president. So I mean, we're talking
A
just
lifetime ago.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think gas was less than $1. Uh, so yeah, it was just a long time, or a little bit over $1. But I'm just telling you, it's just I don't like when the teams. Cleveland, I don't have that same feeling because they're just always been kind of buffoons,
Yeah.
and they draft so horribly. But like I said, when you see the Raiders or the any of the Washington, any of the great teams of the
The
past,
Giants. Yeah.
yeah, the screw or the 49ers when they have issues, it's just hard to kind of watch. I'm glad the Patriots are back. The lead people love to hate the Patriots, and I think that that's a good thing that they're back. But boy, I'm telling you, it's going to be I've just said it at the start of the year. There's just something about this year. People are going to be shocked at who wins the Super Bowl. I think
Yeah.
someone crazy is going to win it. Houston, Jacksonville. I just don't think one of the big teams is going to win it.
Yeah, and those are the teams that are currently leading the division for the most part. I mean, it would be funny if after all this, it's like the Rams or something that are,
Yeah,
they won a few years ago, and they'd probably be a good safe bet considering how they played this season. But I'm hoping for some excitement. I mean, I know it's not the most exciting for the casual fan if it's like, Houston against Chicago. I don't know, maybe one of these teams that hasn't won in a long time or has never won. It's probably not as exciting as like some of these dynasty legacy type teams, but it's fun. It's always fun. I mean, it's been fun in the NBA. We've had some new champs. I think the past three champions were all first timers with was it Denver, OKC, and Milwaukee doing it 3 years in a row. So it is fun when that happens.
yeah. I personally like the dynasties. I think that
I,
it's
I prefer the dynasties. Don't get me wrong, but it is
yeah.
fun. I mean, if this is what we're gonna come, if that's what the outcome is of this season, at least it's been fun and kind of interesting.
And the NFL will always people will always watch the Super Bowl. That's our national sport. It's nothing like the World Cup, which I'm very excited about.
Yep.
My Spain team, Spain. I'm half
Okay.
Spanish, half Germany, so things are looking good for us. But Germany's getting back into being a good team, and Spain's just loaded with young talent. Scary to see kids that are 18 and 19 just so dang good. It's
Yeah.
just unbelievable. Who are you rooting for in the World Cup?
So my family's from Egypt, so that is my team.
Oh,
Yeah, they haven't made it since 2018 was the last World Cup that they made. They're usually like it's like every other World Cup they're usually in. So I don't have super high hopes for them, but I think they can make it out of the group stage. They're out here on the West Coast. They're up in Seattle for most of their games and Vancouver, so I don't think I'll be able to go. But maybe if they make it to a future round, and then also the U.S. We're here in America. I'm an American. I'll root for the men's national team.
I'm a hater. I don't like the Americans, so I want them to lose. I'm for Spain and Germany, but
Okay,
and the
why
one
not?
team I really don't like is England. As long as
Oh,
England doesn't win, I'm okay. I just hate England.
Yeah, I kind of
So
feel bad for them, but I don't love the media and the fans there. So I'm like, all right, maybe you guys deserve it with the hooliganism and all that. But I like the players. That's the problem. Is usually, I mean, you're a Tottenham guy. I mean, I'm a
oh,
Chelsea fan.
Kane,
Usually, some of our
yeah.
players end up there, so you root for them. Like if Reece James and Cole Palmer are in
Yeah,
there, I'm gonna root for them to succeed. I won't root against them for
I
sure.
love Cole Palmer. Yeah, and I love. I'm a big Tottenham fan. I'm kind of. I'm against a lot of the players that they have on the team now. I think they overpaid for so many players, Johnson and Solanke and some of these guys that never play and they're always hurt and then Richarlison who just seems like he's an airhead out there. It seems like with him and Johnson and all the others, unless you give it right to them in front of the goal, they can't score. So
Yeah,
it's just, and they had some horrible signings. I don't like the Tell signing, but it's hard being a Tottenham fan. If anyone's new to EPL, Tottenham is kind of like the Red Sox for years when they didn't win a title. They have the most,
decades.
obnoxious,
Yeah,
loudest fans. And I've been to a game when I was in England. I stayed in England for a month. I was helping to build a couple schools there, doing some charity work and outreaches, and I got a chance to go see the NFL. Thinks the rabidness of soccer. Well, they call it football. It is 10 times
yeah,
counted,
nothing like it. Yeah.
5 times more than college football. I mean, it is these. I've seen grown men cry, and it was a regular season game. So I mean, it's just and the way that they win, it is life and death to some of these guys. It's just unbelievable. That was during the hooligan days too, during Paul Gascoigne and all that
Mm.
stuff, Gaza Mania, when England stunk for years and then they came back and almost won the World Cup and lost to Germany in the semifinals. And Gascoigne, who was like their Michael Jordan for a while, he cried and it just kind of rejuvenated their country and brought soccer back. So I love soccer. And for NFL fans, what 120, 130 mil watch the Super
Something
Bowl?
like that. Yeah,
A billion
yeah,
watches the World Cup.
with a B.
So please tell me that people wonder why isn't the NFL a worldwide sport? Why do I just don't think it's ever going to be. And then you add cricket. Cricket's huge, So what is it? Egypt, Pakistan. Who's Egypt's rival for cricket?
Uh, Egypt doesn't really play cricket. You're talking about more about India and Pakistan. I think
Yeah,
that's the
India
big
and
rivalry.
Pakistan, not Egypt. India and
Yeah, yeah.
Pakistan.
India,
Yeah.
Pakistan. You get like the West Indies teams, Fiji, England. Obviously, is
Oh,
a big cricket country. South Africa too. I think right.
yeah, we're not. I
Yeah.
still don't get cricket, but I watch it sometimes when it's the rivalry games because it's very, these people are very crazy about it. It's fun. And then my friend used to play for the Cal Berkeley. Cal Berkeley is probably the greatest sports dynasty in the
Mm.
history of college sports with their rugby team.
Oh, I was
They
gonna
won
say
in
it's
like
their rugby team, right? Yeah.
25, 30 years. I think they won 20 championships or something crazy. And my friend's a huge guy, 6'4", 240, no body fat. He could, nicest guy, but he could destroy you. And boy, that rugby, I played rugby one time. And after the game, I said, no,
Yeah. Never
no,
again.
not doing this, not going to get killed. I'll play something safer like football. But
Yeah. Right. At least you get a
uh,
pads and a helmet.
That's right. We're going to be taking next week off for Christmas, but you'll see us online. A lot of you have reached out to us. We have a lot of things going on. I have to be real honest with
Do you
you.
want to
I
talk
am a little.
Chiefs before we wrap
Uh,
up?
oh yeah, let's talk Chiefs. But before we do that, we are going to be very active next week. We have a lot going on. I'm just very uh, superstitious, and we've had some famous people want to come on, and then we set everything up, and we've had one cancel an hour before we were supposed to go on.
Brutal.
So when we don't announce things anymore, I don't even tell Khaled sometimes what we're doing because I'm so afraid that we're going to screw it up. We did it last week. Check out our YouTube, the Forum Celebrity Podcast. We interviewed one of the best interviews we ever did with John O'Leary, who they made a movie about him, Soul on Fire. You probably see it in the theaters, getting rave reviews. This guy was messing around. He caught himself on fire. He burned 100% of his body, and the doctors told them he was going to die. He's like 9 years old. Jack Buck, the famous St. Louis Cardinals football and baseball announcer, comes and visits him in the hospital and tells him, "You're going to live. You're going to survive." And he did. The doctors couldn't believe it. He was the worst burn victim, I believe, to ever survive. And the story is so inspirational. Again, it's Soul on Fire. It's on YouTube TV, and it's also in the movies. It'll be streaming soon. If you see this movie, it's such a positive, uplifting story. And John is a motivational speaker. He's amazing. We got to interview William H. Macy. That interview's on there too. And the famous director, Sean McNamara, who's done tons of movies. He did Nixon. He did other movies. He's done political movies, but he did the one Soul Surfer where the young girl, Anna Sophia Robb, I believe, was the star. A shark bit off her arm, and she became a champion anyway. I mean, he's a very inspirational guy, and boy, I love these guys. We're going to have him on again, but please go to our website. And I love the podcast. Maybe because I'm a historian, but if you love history of sports, if you love stuff that has to do with interesting topics of the past, what would have happened if this happened? Khaled, what is your grade as I see the emblem on you? What is your podcast name, and where can they find you?
Yeah, it's the 4040 Vision podcast, brought to you by 4040 Vision Media. You can find us on all the major social media platforms at 4040 Vision Sports. So that's TikTok, YouTube, or Twitter, all that stuff. And of course, our YouTube channel is youtube.com/ at 4040 Vision Sports. We don't just do history. That's been a big focus with the what ifs and the historical stuff. We do some topical things as well. But we're sports fans, we're sports junkies, sports fanatics. And the way I think of it is that you can't really appreciate the past or appreciate the present without looking to the past, and really appreciating the past and all the things that have come before us, and all the amazing athletes and achievements and things like that. So we look back to look forward, and we just love sports. So if you love sports, then check out our podcast and check out our YouTube channel, especially.
Now, some of you have said, "Well, who are you guys? What makes you guys so big a deal?" And we're not a big deal. What it is,
we're just fans.
Companies are starting to come to podcasts like ourselves to say, "What are we doing?" They love the passion. They love the quality. There's only so many hot 18-year-old girl podcasts you could have. I mean, there's so many. I see one guy, he drinks a fifth of vodka every day, and he has 1 million followers, and then he falls down drunk. I mean, that's great content. I mean, if that's your thing, go do it. But we want to give solid content. We also like to be right. I hate when someone asks me, I'm going to toot my horn a little bit. I don't really like doing it, but I was nominated for the Yahoo Fantasy Football Hall of Fame. I had a 91% win rate, and I had 24 championships. I played four leagues every year for 15 years. I stopped doing it. But I was nominated, and I refused the nomination. I just said, I don't want to do it. That's just not my thing. So I used to teach classes a little bit and do podcasts on helping people how to win in fantasy football. And my first rule, listen to people that are winning. Listen to people that are right. Don't listen to everyone that says. If everyone says, like McCaffrey, I was telling people, you got to be careful with picks like that. And people just kind of do what everyone says to do. You get your system, you find out what you could do, and make sure you do your homework, but listen to the winners. And the podcasts that bother me are podcasters like Raider podcasters. And I know I'm going to get some hate, but Stop telling everyone they're going to the playoffs every year. They're going to the Super Bowl every year. Saints fans, stop telling everyone that. No, they're not going to the Super Bowl every year. No, they're not going to surprise everybody every year. You guys sound like the dude in Angels in the Outfield. It could happen. Of course, it could happen, but it's probably not. You got to have better talent. And this is the thing that we try to do is we try to be honest. We try to give you stuff that we've know our home, we've done our homework, we know our stuff, and sometimes we're wrong, but a lot of times we're right. And that's what you want to do. You want to listen to the people that are right. And if you're making mistakes all the time or they're wrong, why are you listening to them? Why are you following them? It's just crazy.
Good point.
But
Good point.
but I love the takes of and the reason I love Khaled so much is that he's young, he's not battered, he's got some fresh ideas, and I always listen to people, and I really like his takes. I think he's super smart, and that's why I think you should go
Thank you.
check out his
Thank you.
podcast. And we believe in him big time. We think there's big things ahead of for him. So please get on the bandwagon now. Follow us and ask us for any help that you want. We could share and we could help. Please don't give us a list on things you want us to do. Remember, you give to us, we give to you. It's give and take, and that's what we want. Now, you wanted to talk about the Chiefs before we go.
I
This is
do.
a huge deal
It is.
because they, 9 years, and they
Yeah.
were already talking about him getting possibly 10 to 15 Super Bowls. I mean, I heard I forget who it was on ESPN that said he thinks that at the start of the year he says he thought Mahomes was going to get 10 Super Bowls, and I'm just that's not how things work. Now, what
Nope.
Tom Brady did was amazing, but like I said, this is kind of a things change, and that's what the NFL doesn't want dynasties. They want new people to bring in new fans. They want if they had a different person, different team every year win it, they would be so happy. So,
Yep.
what is your thoughts on the Chiefs? And there are so many rumors. There are rumors that he's going to leave Kansas City. There's rumors that I've heard that Joe Burrow, is just hates Cincinnati now. He
Yeah.
doesn't
He
want to
might be
be
out too.
there. He hates the weather. He signed a contract. I believe he signed it until 2029. There's rumors he would love to be in Vegas. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on. What is your kind of take on Joe Burrow and also the Chiefs?
Yeah, I'll start with Joe Burrow. He kind of danced around the topic today, where he didn't give a straight answer about, will you see yourself in Cincinnati next season or playing somewhere else? He said basically, he said no, but or something like that. It was kind of non-committal about it. We've seen this happen before with a quarterback in Cincinnati. Ironically, a Heisman-winning quarterback in Carson Palmer that just got sick of the team, got sick of the organization, and they're known as one of the cheapest organizations in the league. Ownership is super super cheap. They're living in the past, and I think he's just been frustrated at the fact that he's been playing at a really high level when he's been available, and the team is just not winning. So it would not surprise me one bit if he asks out. I think the price will probably start at 2 first-round picks, which I think is probably worth it for a quarterback of his caliber. Of course, you risk the fact that he's just been hurt a lot, so you wonder about the injuries. But I think if you can go out and get a guy like that for a reasonable price, which is again probably 2 first-round picks or something, I think you definitely make that trade. When it comes to KC, I think the timing of the injury is just it's so massive, right? I mean, the fact that it's week 15, he might not play at all next season. I know they say the ACL is between a 9 to 12 month recovery. So we're looking at it basically a year from now. And a year from now is obviously, December 2026. And who knows what the Chiefs will look like. What I think is really interesting is that they might have to go out and get a veteran quarterback, or they might just say next year is a wash. Maybe Kelsey retires this season. He is getting married in the offseason. So maybe he decides, I'm ready for the next chapter in my life. And then they look at some of the veteran guys on the team. You're like, all right, it's time to have a rebuilding year, and it's a great excuse. It's not like fans will be kicking down the door and trying to kick ownership out or the coaches out, and you have an established coaching staff there, so it's not like you're worried about that. So I think they're going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch in the offseason because his recovery, his timeline, and all that, it's really going to decide and color how they approach the 2026 season, where it could be anything from a rebuild to hey, this guy's going to be back, week 8 next year. So it's a super fascinating story. And that you talked about Mahomes getting 10 Super Bowls or whatever. Some people are just completely delusional about this. Even Brady with his 7. I want to say they went like 10 years between Super Bowls. So
Yeah.
that was the thing that people don't remember is it was 3-3 with a big 10-year gap. I mean, they lost a couple of Super Bowls in the middle, but it's hard to get to the Super Bowl. It's really hard to win a Super Bowl. And Brady benefited from playing in a division where none of the other teams had a franchise type quarterback during his time there. And you look in the AFC West, you're like, okay, Justin Herbert, franchise level quarterback. Bo Nix is at least a good quarterback. Maybe he's a franchise QB, and hopefully the Raiders are able to draft a franchise quarterback this offseason. But it's going to be very, very interesting to watch how this KC team reacts to this injury and this organization, I should say, because it's not even a team thing. It's a top down from ownership down. And they'll be, like I said, one of the most interesting teams to watch this offseason.
I think, I think Casey, and I was talking about it with the reporter off air the other day. I think when they crumble, it's going to crumble completely.
Yeah,
I see Andy Reid in the next couple of years retiring. I see
very possibly.
Kelsey
Yeah.
gone next year. I see, and when now the only thing with Mahomes, he does have a lot of businesses in Kansas City, and he's a smart guy. He's gotten good at financial advice, so he has a lot of businesses in Kansas City. He's making money. I believe, didn't he also invest in the Royals?
I think it was the Royals, and also him and his wife co-own or are big parts of the NWSL team, the Kansas City Current. So
Oh,
he's got deep roots in KC. So I don't see him leaving under any circumstances unless it's like a Brady type situation where he's in his 40s and wants to play another year or two somewhere else. But I don't think he's leaving anytime soon. It's just a matter of, like you said, what is this team going to look like in 2 years or in a year? Andy Reid could be like, you know what? I don't have the patience right now for a rebuild. I'm almost 70 years old. I've won it all. Maybe he decides it's time to hang it up. And then same thing with Kelsey. So we could be looking at a vastly, vastly different team. And, obviously in 2026 and then, 2027 and beyond.
and he's going to come back early. So let's say he comes back in 9 to 10 months. I mean, he's still going to probably miss part of the start of the season. And do you want him coming back?
Yeah.
In the medical field, they say it takes a complete year to get back to where you were. And some
Hmm.
players do better than what they were. Some don't. Some don't do as
Yeah.
well. So, but he's a hard worker. Uh, I don't think he's ever leaving. I know there's a lot of rumors about it. Now, Burrow, if I were the Raiders, I would sell the farm for Burrow. He's a Super Bowl quarterback. The reason, I mean, he had the ball in his hands for the final drive against the Rams, but that was one of the best defenses in the last 10 years,
Hmm.
and they stopped him, and that was you know fairly low scoring game compared to other Super Bowls, but boy, that defense was awesome, and they may have had one of the best players in the last 25 years. So, uh,
Yeah.
but Joe Burrow still was a stud, and he's got swagger. He has got that attitude, that little chip on his shoulder that I like. He has this arrogance about him. Reminds me a little bit. He's before your time. A little bit of Burt Jones from the Colts back
That
in the
is
day.
before my time. Yeah.
Yeah, Burt Jones had that same thing where he just seemed like he just had that arrogance, that chip on his shoulder, and we're gonna win. You can't do nothing about it, and I like that. So I like that type of
I'm
mentality.
scared. Yeah, I'm scared that it's going to be history repeating itself if they do go out and get again a disgruntled Heisman winning quarterback from Cincinnati, because it didn't work out with Carson Palmer. I know it was a weird time with Al Davis's death, and we didn't really, there was like a power vacuum with the GM and all that. But Burrow is a top 3 quarterback. He slots in firmly for me, right behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes as the 3rd best quarterback in the NFL. That's my only worry. Is just like, man, we've been burned before by
Well,
Cincinnati.
I
You
think
know,
he's way better than Carson Palmer.
oh,
I think the problem with
miles better. Yeah.
Carson Palmer was one of those statues, the guys that if you were not near him, he was a great quarterback. If you got
Yeah.
anywhere near him, he stunk. And I wasn't a big fan of him. I thought he was an okay quarterback, but I think with Burrow, the key with Burrow is you got to have a better offensive line. You can't just throw him out there. He's going to get killed. He gets hurt. He's semi-fragile, so he gets hurt, and you don't want. So you got to shore up that offensive line. The Raiders are not exactly picking Hall of Famers in the first round, so giving up 2
100%.
first rounders, I could care less. I want something. I would rather give up 2 first rounders that I don't know what's going to happen to him. Look at Tyree Wilson. I mean, his rating in PFF was in the 50s for much of the year. I think it's raised to the 60s, but that's not a superstar. You got to get stars once in a while. And I think that getting rid of getting 2 picks, giving 2 picks that you don't know what's going to happen, you suck, so you'll get a high pick. I would go after Burrow, and I would say I wouldn't give up Crosby, but I would
No.
give up. How about Mayer and 2 number 1 picks? I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Mayer's a
I
solid
wonder.
tight end.
Yeah. I don't even know if Cincy would take that deal. Like, I wonder who else would line up. I mean, you probably look at the Deshaun Watson trade. I think they got 3 firsts. Like, it was
Oh
just an
God,
obnoxious,
like
incredibly
5 picks. Yeah,
something crazy like that, right? So, but the thing is, right? I mean, the Raiders have a ton of cap space. So if they do make the deal where they're giving up, a couple first round picks, something else, I'm sure there's more to it than that. Then you go out and spend that money on an offensive line, and it's probably easier to attract those free agents because you say, hey, you're not going to be blocking for Kenny Pickett or Geno Smith. You're going to be blocking for one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So it might be an easier sales pitch. Probably go out and get an offensive minded head coach, send Pete Carroll packing.
and
And
you
that
got
would
Tom
obviously,
Brady. You got
yeah.
Tom Brady there to be the liaison, and
And the
and
reason
I
they didn't get Ben Johnson is because they didn't have a quarterback. So why did Chicago get Ben Johnson? Obviously, other than a ton of money, is the fact that you got Caleb Williams in the building. Same thing with Mike
yep.
Vrabel. So if you have an established or exciting quarterback in the building, it's going to be easier to get a top tier head coach. It's going to be easier to get top tier offensive free agents. So I'm willing to gamble. You're in Vegas, just throw your chips in the middle. Let's do it.
And like you said, now the people that say, "Well, why Cincinnati was Paul Brown was the icon of Cincinnati. He was the father of the Cincinnati football. He created the Cleveland Browns back in the day, and then he went in Cincinnati and did his own thing. I believe he was the coach that made them clean their uniforms. I can't don't quote me on that, but I think his
Yeah.
cheapness was of legend, and his kids and grandkids have kind of getting on the have taken over the team since he passed away. I believe he passed away in the 90s, and they're just as cheap, and they will
100%.
not pay anybody. So to me, that's why these would be very beneficial to them, because you're going to pay a lot less for number 1 picks than you're going to pay for Joe Burrow. And also you're getting Mayer, who's not making a ton of money. He's making a nice salary, but nothing's crazy. So I think that would also lure them, because I can't, boy, they keep saying they want to re-sign Joe Burrow. I think he's done with them. I think he's sick of it. If he's going to be 30 next year, and I mean, how much longer can you play and get beat up and not win? He wants to win a Super Bowl, and I'm telling you, if I were the Raiders, I would go to Cincinnati. Let's work this out. You want me to throw in some cash? I'll do that. Whatever it takes to get him. I felt that way about Jaden Daniels. I feel that way with Joe Burrow. That's a guy that could change your team around immediately. And
100%. Yeah.
you get him, you get another rusher. Kuntz, I wanted to ask you about that for Raider fans. Kuntz was excellent before he got hurt, but he is not the same player.
No.
What do you do with him? I want another edge rusher, and if I'm the Raiders, and I want Burrow, and those are the two things that could immediately improve your team.
Yeah, I'd send him packing. I wanted them to in the offseason. I wanted them to keep Chase on, who they brought in late in the season. He's having an incredible season with the Patriots. I mean, Kuntz, like you said, he was good. It's not like he was lighting it up before he got hurt. He was good, not
Yeah,
great. So it just whatever it takes. That's quarterback is priority one. Priority two is offensive line. Priority three is someone to rush the passer opposite of Max Crosby because this guy's getting killed. So whether that's through the draft or in the free agent market, and again, they're going to have something like $70 million worth of cap space next
yeah,
season.
crazy.
So yeah, let's do it. Do whatever you got to do. Throw your chip, like I said, throw your chips in the middle. Let's go.
The only thing that scares me is that supposedly Tom Brady was the one that wanted this new coaching staff, and that's scary because just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're going to be a great front office person. And when they dumped Chip Kelly, he was irate. They said that he felt almost betrayed because that was his guy. So
I mean, it's not
that's the
like things
one
have been
thing.
much better since Chip Kelly left. So
Yeah,
maybe he had a point. I don't know.
I think making him the scapegoat was a little petty. I know the fans hated him and wanted him out, but Geno Smith's horrible. I mean, Geno Smith wants 7 seconds. Siege Shadur Sanders, to me, he's an older Shadur Sanders. These guys need lots of time, and if they don't get lots of time, there were 3 passes Shadur Sanders had 8 seconds to pass,
Mm,
and he incompleted all of them. I mean, this guy is getting all this time, and then they blamed he got sacked. On one of them, he got sacked, and they're blaming the offensive line. You can't find anybody in 8 seconds. Either run the dang thing or throw it away.
yeah.
So I think Geno Smith, I think Chip Kelly, I wouldn't have fired him. I would have kept him and just grinded it out. I would play all my young players. I would have played Pickett. Geno Smith wouldn't, I would either get rid of him, even though he's under contract. I would just
Just cut
I
bait. Yeah.
yeah, I would. You could cut him and eat some of the money, or you could wait till he has a good game against a bad team and then get rid of him, trade him, try to do something for him, get a backup. I mean, I don't know. It's just hard. I don't know if anyone would want him, but it's. But I'm telling you, Joe Burrow to the Raiders, and you get another pass rusher. That then all of a sudden you could playoffs.
100%. Yeah. It's a risky move. But whatever you hope Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore, one of these guys could be, like if they're anywhere near what Joe Burrow is, if they're like 60% of the quarterback Joe Burrow is, you're happy. So if you have a chance to go out and get the real thing for a somewhat reasonable price, I don't know what the asking price is going to be. But I would say, yeah, I'm in favor of a move like that.
Now, I don't mind drafting Mendoza, but none of the other quarterbacks I like. I just
Yeah.
don't think they're. And you saw, speaking of Texas quarterbacks, Arch Manning now decided to stay at Texas, which was a very
Smart
smart
move.
move
Yeah.
because that guy. I mean, I think he's making $2 or $3 million in the NIL anyway, so it's not
Yeah.
like he's losing money. But
Him and
yeah,
Sellers, Lenore Sellers is going back to school too. So that's two quarterbacks that are off the board. So
Sellers is very raw. I think he's got
yeah,
a long way to go before he could be in the NFL. And none of the others that there is. Oklahoma has a freshman that everybody's raving about, and Alabama has one too, a 5-star quarterback that I've been reading up on that people are saying next couple of years he's going to be really good. So there's good people on the wings, but just not right now. And there's great wide receivers in this draft, and some linemen and some linebackers. I'm
yeah,
excited about them. So this is going to be a very interesting draft because usually you have those top 5 players that are superstars. You don't have that. You have excellent players, but you don't, and good players, but you don't have those can't miss superstars that you just drool over it. And this is going to be teams are going to be make or break it this year with this draft. It's exciting. So I really like it.
always is.
Yeah. All right. It was great talking to you, Khaled, and we'll talk again in 2 weeks. And if something comes up big in sports, we'll definitely talk about it. We may go online next week. We're going to be
Yeah.
very busy, so make sure you get us online. Obviously, Christmas we're gonna not do anything, but for the week, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're doing. I'm actually redoing all our wiring for AT&T. We've really had a screw up, so I'm gonna rewire it. I've already got all this stuff, and it's almost complete. So we're gonna have, because we've had too many issues with AT&T, and we want to fix it. So because we don't want any more problems, so we're just gonna hardwire everything to make sure that everything has
Love it.
1,000 gigabytes. I hate technical problems, so we're gonna have a lot of flash and dash, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So, Khaled, you take care of yourself. We'll talk again real soon.
Yep.
And
Yep.
everyone, make sure you go to his website and check out us, the Forum Celebrity Podcast, and your podcast.
The 4040 Vision podcast on all major platforms, especially YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel.
All right, you guys, take care. Have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. We're all in. We're very inclusive. So you guys
Yep.
take care and have a great week.
Bye, everybody.